Well, joining me now is one of India's most respected lawyers, Harish Salve, the ex-Solicitor General of India. But in this case, of course, he also represented some of the telecom companies in the Supreme Court in 2011. Mr. Salve, as an eminent lawyer looking at this case from London, really a case that came to define the alleged corruption of the UPA. What would you say about a verdict today which seems to imply that a 1,76,000 crore scam was all in thin air, it never existed? What would you say today, sir?
Therefore, now the hype is over. Now the reality is in our face. And let's look at it at two levels, Sonia. One is the level of the judgment, and one is the larger picture of India, which you're asking me as to what people think of what's going on. And let me address it quickly. Let's take the two non-controversial cases. The allegations against Ruiyas. I had appeared for them, complete, clean acquittal on the ground that they were charged on the ground of so-called cheating, case thrown out. Allegations against Sunil Mittal dented the reputation of Airtel as one of India's sterling companies for a while, could have become very serious if Supreme Court had not nipped it in the bud as far as Sunil was concerned. He is one of India's most respected businessmen. And see where it would have been had he been charged. Case thrown out. Maxis Telecom, case thrown out. The case against Gautam and the others from RIL, Gautam Doshi and others from the RIL. Gautam Doshi, an extremely respected professional colleague. He's a chartered accountant, top-class chartered accountant, worked for a bank, joined Anil Ambani. Whatever may have happened, could anybody even suggest that Gautam or his three colleagues had anything personal to gain in it? What was the worst allegation? They helped Balwa buy or helped Balwa jump the queue by setting up a company which they sold to him. Is this a case for a criminal prosecution? And all these people, their businesses have been ruined, their reputations have been damned, their family lives have been ruined. They've all done time in jail. For what? And I think that's a hard question we have to confront ourselves with. As far as the Raja case is concerned, that again seems to be dominating the narrative about whether Raja took money, he didn't take money, and if he took money, how has he been acquitted or why has he been acquitted, etc., etc. Now, one thing is there is a Supreme Court judgment which said that the policy to give spectrum without auction and at a predetermined price was flawed. Should the Supreme Court be second-guessing policy? The jury is out on that issue. The larger bench, which heard the National Resources reference, has said auction is not inevitable.
But let me
they had to correct them.
Yes, but let me just ask Mr. Salve exactly how you talked about these businessmen, some of whom you represented, and said their lives were ruined. When we look at the political impact of a case like this, now again, this is a case, in fact, the BJP today said, the finance minister said, how can you treat this as a badge of honor? It's like the Arushi murder again. You appeared in that case where we know that Arushi was killed. We just don't know who murdered her. So in the same way, we know the scam happened, but the judge says he doesn't know who did it. So in that sense, you've also had political reputations ruined. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh of that time said, go ahead, sir.
See, let's get a few things right. Should spectrum have been given, and should the desire to promote teledensity quickly have overridden the need to raise more money by auction? Is not a scam. The Telegraph Regulatory Authority of India was consulted. They said it's fine, you can give it on predetermined prices. That was not a scam. Nobody has said the TRAI got it wrong. So the Supreme Court judgment doesn't take you as far as saying it's a scam. They say the policy was arbitrary. There was some fooling around with the way, there were serious procedural lapses in which the way the decision was arrived at, some of which appeared. Now, how many of those procedural lapses are today to be found? I don't know. But the Supreme Court going through with a fine-tooth comb over procedural lapses has partly resulted in a policy paralysis, at least as far as the balance of UPA was concerned. The country has paid a price for it. So the Supreme Court judgment doesn't equal scam. The Supreme Court judgment is definitely an indictment as to how the government of the day worked as far as distribution of spectrum is concerned. Scam means somebody was bribed, somebody took money, somebody gave money to get a favorable decision. There was no evidence to suggest that before the Supreme Court. After waiting for 7 years, the judge has not found any evidence to prove that. That's where we are, whether we like it or we don't like it.
But does that mean, sir, I'm asking you again, does that mean the corruption didn't happen? As I said, this was actually a turning point, some would say, in the 2014 general elections. Would you say, as a citizen of India, perhaps, that do you feel cheated at the end of all this? We are told one set of facts by respected people. We know Vinod Rai went on to get the Padma Bhushan, is the head of the banking board today, Controller and Auditor General, a constitutional position. We are told one thing then, and today it's all turned on its head. As a citizen of India, do you not feel cheated in a way? What's the truth?
No, I'll tell you, Sonia, why I don't feel cheated. Because I felt on that very day, and I knew on that very day, maybe there are serious lapses in the way the government went about allocating the spectrum. But I knew that very day what Mr. Vinod Rai said is also way, way overkill. What is a loss? And let me give you an example of what is happening today. Let's take a case which is decided by the Supreme Court. In the Reliance Jio case, a draft report comes up. And this is the larger issue, Sonia, which we need to address in our country. This circuit which we have set up of draft report of CAG, PIL in court, special investigation team, reputations damned, everybody's put under suspect list, media goes nuts calling people all sorts of names, and then at the end of it, zero. And creating a negative atmosphere as though this company, as though our country is one big banana republic with everybody stealing from everybody. Right. This circuit must end. Now see what happened in the Jio case. Draft report, 30,000 crore scam. The government explained to the CAG the basis was wrong. He had misunderstood what had actually happened. In PIL file, 30,000 crore scam. Supreme Court issues notice on 30,000 crore scam. The CAG then corrects his report and says, okay, now he has painted himself in a corner by saying scam. So he doesn't have the courage to say, sorry, I got the scam all wrong.
Right.
Okay, 3,500 crore scam. You now have a Supreme Court judgment which says even that is wrong. There is no scam. There's nothing wrong. And they've upheld the license. It's a Supreme Court judgment. So now this circuit must end.
No, very important points are raised by you, Mr. Salve, on the larger impact. Again, as I said, this was likely to have a huge political fallout in the days to come, as the original so-called scam did. The verdict, I suppose, the CBI has now said it will appeal. So let's see what happens next.
Let's describe this for what it is, for the people to understand. One way of looking at it. The government of the day did not allocate spectrum properly. The manner, the procedures followed were deeply flawed, as the judgment has found. And because of which the government...
Right.
You have to be very careful. And secondly, you have to be transparent. What was lacking was a sense of transparency.
Exactly. And interestingly, Mr.
Was
Salve,
there a scam established?
Yes. I'll just pull out what the verdict has said. And interestingly, of course, the current Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, Nripendra Mishra, was then the chairman of the TRAI. And interestingly, what the judge does say today about the question about who misrepresented the facts to the then Prime Minister. He actually blames officials in the Prime Minister's office. Again, the powerful Secretary Pulok Chatterjee, known to be close to Mrs. Sonia Gandhi as well, and T.K. Nair, again a very powerful member of the PMO, saying that they misrepresented facts to the PM. Remember, A. Raja said that he never took any decisions without the PMO's clearance.